roll up and roll out.
I didn't mean it that way. I mean, just.
Yes, I know what you mean. I think I need her to make it.
She's in there.
Okay. Well, don't force it. So get comfortable, and if you're on the floor, you know you can sit up on blankets if that feels better for you to sit up with your hips up a little bit, dude. And just close your eyes and let yourself just allow your head to move around a little bit. Just however feels good. You know, you may want to bow your head forward or roll side to side a little bit. Just letting yourself kind of feel those little places that you find maybe that feel tight. And then once you feel like you can rise your head on up again and let your crown of your head reach upward, feel that sense of space in your spine, and watch your breath coming in and going out through your nose, and imagine you're breathing equally in and out through both sides of your nose. You know how we used to do alternate nostril breathing often? The reason I've not done that so many times is it's kind of hard to do with a mask on. So if you remember how to do that, or you can always look it up if you're at home and remember how to let yourself just close one nostril off at a time. That's a really good way, and it's good for allergies too, by the way. Just softly feel the eyes closing and let yourself feel light in your face. You can imagine you're smiling even if you don't physically smile. You just feel that lightness, that ease. And if you can bring your breath into your belly, feeling the belly expand a little bit as you inhale. And just start to rock a little bit with your breath. Let your exhales bring you a little bit forward, and your inhales bring you back up. Doesn't matter how far you go. You might just want to go an inch or two. Keeping your back nice and long. Might feel good to go farther depending on how you feel in your back. But just starting to move gently with your breath. And then the next time that you come back up to sitting, go ahead and stay there and let your arms come on out beside you. So if you're on the floor, fingertips can lightly touch the floor. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. Once your hands are there, lift your elbows up a little bit, which presses your hands a little more firmly together. And then let your hands come apart and let just the tips of your middle fingers touch. Your palms are facing down, like you have your hands right on a shelf in front of your chest there. And then keep going to the backs of the hands, connecting just a little bit, right? So your fingertips face down. And keeping your hands connected lightly, we're going to circle the hands around in one direction. Doesn't matter which way, because we're going to go the other way. But they just gently stay connected as you roll through, letting your hands circle, not pressing really hard in your hands, but waking up the wrists and the arms. I mean, you can feel this all the way up into your shoulders. And then we're going to go the other way. So wherever you want to stop and reverse direction with those circles. Again, just lightly feeling the hands touch. You're not forcing it at all. Just let it feel really good. It's almost like you're lubricating your wrists a little bit, right? And the next time that you come back to your heart, let your hands come together. Let your hands stay there together in front of your chest. And now let's inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. And now let's make a big circle with our arms, bringing the arms forward and up overhead, and then back as far as you can behind you and back down, and then we'll reverse that circle. Reaching back first, and then forward and up, and all the way back down as they come on back down in front of you, back down towards the ground. And then just shake your hands out a little bit here now. Good. And let's come on forward again with that nice long back. So you all on the floor, if you need to stretch your legs out, do. If you'd rather keep your legs crossed, do. If you're in your chair, you're welcome to separate your feet and let your elbows rest above your knees. Or even bring your hands down towards the ground, right? That is totally up to you and your back. Be really mindful. Let yourself release through your jaw and your face here. If you are able to let your head hang, as long as it doesn't put pressure into your back, you can let your head hang. If not, that doesn't feel so good. Keep the back of your head more in line with your spine. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll come on back up. And we're going to let ourselves, if you're cross-legged on the floor, switch the cross of your legs. So if you need to stretch your legs out for a second, do, so that you can bring your other leg in front if you're cross-legged, so you even your hips out a little bit there. And then we'll bring our arms on out beside us again. Let's take a nice inhale here. And as we exhale, we're going to twist to our right, bringing yourself around, left hand towards the right knee, or of course, you don't have to go that far. You can have your hand more to the midline. Good, and now inhale that back right arm up overhead. And see if you can stay really upright. Reach up through your fingertips, and your palm kind of turns towards the midline of your body. And then just lean a little bit to your left, coming into a bit of a side stretch there. You don't have to go deeply to feel it, right? Reach out through the fingertips. Let yourself feel that sense of space, more space between the ribs on the right side there. And then we'll come on back up. We're going to lower the arm back down into that twist. Take a nice inhale here. And on the exhale, come on back. Stop at center for a second. Bring your chin down towards your chest. And then let your left ear roll towards your left shoulder just a little bit. And then roll back through center and let your right ear roll towards your right shoulder a little bit. And then come on back into center again. And we'll rise the head on back up, upright here, chin parallel to the floor. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist the other way to our left. So your right hand might be at your midline, it might be on your left knee. Let yourself feel that length upward through the top of your head. And then let that back arm, that left arm, float on up. Let yourself find length through that side of your body. And again, just leaning a little bit to the right so that your right shoulder just dips down a little bit. And you can feel that sense of lots more space in the left side of the body between the ribs. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to lower that back arm on back down again. Take a nice inhale once you're there. And let your exhale draw you on back around into center. And let's release our arms on down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Good. And then let your arms come down, stretch your legs out, whether you're in your chair or on the floor. And just flex both your feet. And when you do, really feel the undersides of your legs there. And then point and really see if you can reach as much as you can into pointing your feet. And then go ahead and draw the feet back into the flex. And then go ahead and again reach into that point. Good. And now start to circle your feet. And you can go in the same direction like I'm doing, or you can do opposite if that feels easier for you, feels more natural. But try to let your legs stay still. It's just the feet doing the moving, right? And of course your ankles are getting warmed up. Go the other direction if you haven't already. Let yourself reverse. And then we'll come on back. We're going to come on down. We're going to bring ourselves around to hands and knees. And you know, if you do not want to be on your knees, don't be. So you can use your chair. If your hands bother you, you know, if you really know this position of getting that much of a wrist crease in your hands is not good for your hands or your wrists, don't do it. I'm serious. Come on to forearms. You can be on blocks, on your forearms. You can be on the chair so that you're not into your hands at all, into the wrists. Or you can even put your hands lightly above your knees and move through your cat-cow like this without really putting pressure into your hands, right? We want to focus on the spine, so if your awareness is all in your hands because it hurts, don't do it. So just start to ease your way through and take your time, your own timing. In other words, you might, like your cat or your cow, you might want to stay there either in one of those poses or the other for a breath or two before you move back through the spine, or you might want to continuously flow through. Just let it feel really good. And try to let your face relax if you feel like you're kind of maybe trying too hard and putting, tenseness into your jaw or your face. Let everything feel kind of easy. We're going to finish off the one we're on, and we'll come back to a more neutral spine now. And let's come into our shoulders a little bit. Just turn to look to the right with your head and let your right arm float up to where it's straight out. You can see your hand right out there from your shoulder. And that might be enough. You might want to go higher and higher with that right hand, which puts more into your shoulders, obviously, and into that left arm and shoulder. And then go ahead and lower the hand on back down and look to the left. And again, let your left arm come up. And you may want to just stay right there. That's already strengthening your shoulders, your upper body. You can go higher and higher if you want, letting yourself come up, different feeling into the shoulders there. And then we'll come on back down again. From here, we're going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into our first lunge. So you can use your blocks under your hands if you want. You can use a chair. You can go as low or as high as you want, in other words. Just be mindful of that front knee. Make sure it's not bent any farther forward than your ankle. Let your shoulders release down away from your ears. Take your time here to open up the back of that right leg. Good. And we're going to switch to go to the other side. So as you step your left foot back, remember, you do want to feel like you're on those very narrow railroad tracks. So you don't step your left foot directly behind your right one. And you can get into your hips here. You can feel that left heel reaching directly behind your foot. Good. And we're going to switch again. So this time, remember, how far you step as far as length in your lunge is totally up to you. Once you're aligned with that front knee, if you decide you want to go deeper into a longer lunge, you just extend, your feet a little farther apart. If anybody wants to lift their left hand or forearm up to their thigh, if you want a little bit more going on in your legs and your hips, you can. You don't have to. And we're going to switch legs again. So again, as you step that left foot back, how far you go, how long of a stance, up to you. Be mindful of that front knee. And when you if you want to bring your right hand or forearm up to your thigh, it's a little more into your hips, into the legs here. Engage your belly a little bit. Good. We're going to bring hands down. If they were up, we're going to step forward and come into standing forward bend very mindfully. So if your back bothers you, do not come into just folding over your legs and rounding your low back. Keep your back long if you need. You can always use the chair under your hands or forearms, or your elbows above your knees, your hands on your blocks. But just let yourself release here into your breath as best you can. Just letting the pose just help you open up the backs of your legs. But if you can let your head hang, that weight of your head helps create more space in your spine, really. Let go through your face, your jaw. And then we'll let our knees bend a a little bit as we press into our feet. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Coming into your mountain pose. So be mindful if you need to check your feet out by looking at them do. Just trying to get as parallel as you can with your feet and bringing your gaze on forward and out. And once you start to bring your gaze forward, whether your eyes are open or closed, imagine you're looking out towards the horizon. And then see if you can, without looking at your feet, lift all your toes up. And that's really telling. Your feet might adjust slightly, right? And you can really tell when your toes are up if you're rolling to the insides or the outsides of your feet. So think about the base of your big toe mound and the base of your little toe mound equally into the ground. And then let your toes just relax back down to the floor here. And then see if you can pick all your toes up except for your big toe. Well, good luck with that. Which rolls you into the inside of your feet, right? And then see if you can put all the toes down. The big toes are still down. Now see if you can leave all the rest of the toes down except your big toes. Try to lift just your big toes up. That's kind of fun. If you're not sure you're doing it, I totally understand. And then let your toes come on back down. Bend your knees a little bit here now. Press your feet into the floor like you're pushing the floor away from you. Feel as equal as you can between your feet. And then just lengthen upward. Feel the thighs now lifting up a little bit. You're not going to lock your knees, but you're definitely engaging your legs. Pelvis gets aligned. You can feel your hips want to come over your ankles, shoulders over your hips. Unfolding our arms on down beside us. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees as we come forward into that standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find that nice, long, flat back. We're going to step our right foot back from here into lunge. So, just adjust your feet however you need. Depends on where your hands are. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. And imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. You're pressing your feet away from each other. And we're going to make our way into a downward facing dog pose from here. So ease your way into where you like your hands to be, whether it's the blocks or a chair or the floor. Reaching back through your sitting bones, elbows hugging towards each other. Go ahead and bend your knees. Let yourself really enjoy extending equally through the sides of your body. And then we'll come on out towards a plank. Now, you don't have to do a full push-up pose. You can put your knees down, do a half. You can put forearms onto the ground and be in a forearm plank or half plank. You can do push-ups if you like. You're more than welcome to bend your elbows and let yourself come a little more into the upper body there. And then we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Easing your way back, finding that sense of space in your spine and feeling that your shoulders are okay. Elbows hug inward a little. Bring the right foot forward. Now, how you do that, whether you need to put your knees down if you're on the floor and step that right foot forward to lunge, or maybe you want to put one knee down and come forward. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart. And again, whatever support you need, how your back feels will determine what you need to do. I know some of you like to fold forward and hold your elbows. If that feels good and it doesn't bother your back or up in your backs of your legs there by your sitting bones, you can do that. If not, don't put so much weight, right? Put support under your hands or your forearms. Full deep breaths. Feel yourself watching your breath all the way in and all the way out. Really keeping your awareness on your breath. And then we'll let our hands rise up to our hips, bend our knees, come on up to standing, and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, letting our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's reverse. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. On the exhale, open the arms like wings, bending the knees, takes it out of your back as you come into your forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. Remember that tabletop back there. And we'll step the left foot back and come into our lunge. So again, be mindful of your lunge. Start to feel like you're getting a little more involved, pressing the feet away from each other. When you do that, you feel how your belly responds, and you feel your low back and your hips. You can lengthen out through your torso here now. You feel that long line down the back of your body. We'll come into downward facing dog pose from here. So again, you know it is up to you. Hands on blocks, hands on the chair. Walk your dog if you need to. If it feels better to move around a little bit when you're, especially when we're first getting into class, you can walk, you can move, bend both knees, you can play around a little bit with your hips. And we're going to come on out towards that plank. And again, it is totally optional about doing this plank. Again, it's the same thing about being in your wrist, your hands like that. If you need to come to forearms, do. If you'd like to do push-ups, you can, or you can stay in the plank and really think about the core of your body. Think about reaching your sitting bones down towards your heels, zipping up your low belly, and then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Good. Think about your head being in line with your spine, like the back of your head being in line with the spine, so that you're just extra long from your tailbone all the way out through the top of your head. And then we'll bring our left foot forward to find lunge. And again, how you get into that is totally up to you. Press those feet a little away from each other again. Find that sense coming up into the hips, the belly, the low back there. And then we'll step forward into standing forward bend again. And be mindful. Easy. Easy does it. Let yourself use support if you need. Take your time. Feel the breaths coming in and going out. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips and rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. We're going to unfold our arms and bring our hands behind us this time. And then just let yourself, if you can, when you inhale, see if you can just bring your hands a little bit off of your back or off of your bottom there. And then when you exhale, let them come back down. Doesn't have to be much, and if it doesn't feel good to your shoulders, don't do it. So if you can inhale your hands a little away, do. And exhale, coming down. Otherwise, just think about it. Inhaling them away a little bit. And then exhale, letting them come back down. And then from here, just tilt your head a little bit to your right ear towards your right shoulder. And then come on back up through the center and go the other way, letting your head just tilt a little bit. And then come on back to center. Now don't do this if it hurts you, but if you can look up a little bit, do. You don't have to go far. And now as you exhale, bend your knees and start to come forward. Now stay about parallel to the floor. Bend your knees as much as you need so you're flat and you're parallel to the floor like a tabletop, right? You're reaching back through your tailbone and out through the top of your head. Now some of you might be able to lift your hands off your back there. If you can, do it. If not, don't. And then release. Let your arms now come on right on down. And we're going to step into a down dog from here. So you can place your hands on whatever surface you like to use. Coming back into your down dog. And take your time. Feel equal through your hands, whatever surface they're on. And we'll come on out towards that plank from here. And it is totally optional to do any kind of back bend from here. You can stay in your plank. You can come to your forearm plank if you want. You can come into a back bend of choice. You can come to forearms and do a sphinx. You can come through and come into an up dog or a cobra. And then we'll make our way back again into down dog. Remember, it's optional to do those back bends. So in your dog, play around a little bit. Walk if you want to. Your dog a little. Bend both your knees. You might want to turn your head a little bit even from side to side. So you don't feel like you're really just tensing into the pose, but it feels really natural. And then we'll come on out again towards that plank. And again, adding a back bend here is optional. You can come into one if you want. You can stay in your plank if you want. Make your way to where it feels good for you. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. Good. Let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge from here. And then we'll step all the way back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Feel your head, if you can be, heavy. Let your face go and your jaw. Feel the breath expanding the ribs in all directions. Good, and then we'll bend our knees and bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So come into mountain pose. If you need to look at your feet again, do. Okay, take your time. Let yourself get really adjusted. And then once your gaze comes on forward, whether your eyes are open or closed, just enjoy feeling very centered between your feet. Balanced, really, right? You don't have to be on one leg to think about being balanced. You want to feel right now like you're balanced between the front and the back of your body, and between the right and the left side of your body. And it becomes very easy once the body is aligned. That quiet strength of simply standing in your mountain pose. Release our arms on down beside us, shake out a little bit, move around, whatever you need, joints. And I'm going to turn my chair around, so if you're using it, you might want to. And if not, have your blocks handy in case you want them, okay? And we'll step our right foot back and come into warrior two. So stepping that right foot back to be about parallel to the back edge of our mat and lining our heels up. And remember, your feet can be 2 feet apart, 3 feet, 4 feet, whatever feels good, but it is the alignment of that front knee. You want to be careful. Make sure you're not sending that knee forward beyond your toes. And then from here, just let your arms come slightly up away from the body, okay? Your arms are still low. And then from there, let your hands circle around in one direction. And then circle them in the other direction. Good. And then start to just reach out so that when you reach your arms on up a little higher than your shoulders for warrior two, you can feel your shoulders softening down, reaching out through your fingertips, but feeling energy all the way out through the hands, right? Feel the feet in the floor. And remember in the lunge how we pressed them away from each other like we're trying to lengthen our mat? See if you can do that same thing here. So you feel the thighs tighten up and you feel your belly and your low back, right? We'll put our right hand on our right hip now and straighten our left leg out and bring our left hand down for triangle. So your hand can go up on the back of that chair. That's fine. You don't have to go any low. It's not about going low, 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 low with your body. It's about lengthening your spine out. Your hand can be on your thigh. It can be down to the chair seat if you want to go a little lower, or to a block. And then as you roll that right shoulder up towards the ceiling, you can decide about adding the right arm straight on up from your shoulder. If that feels good, you can do it. If not, your shoulder says no, don't do it. So feel that length through both sides of the body. Imagine your thighs just lifting upward towards your hips so your knees are really being protected. We're going to bend the left knee and come on back into warrior two. Pressing those feet away from each other, feeling that strength, that power in your warrior two. Because you're very balanced again in this pose. Balanced, even though you're different, you're asymmetrical, you feel balanced. And we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And you may want to grab blocks as you come on forward for a wide-legged forward bend. You can grab blocks and have them underneath your hands so your back is long, or you can have your hands down to the floor if you want. And then just go ahead and adjust a little bit by bending a knee at a time, unless your knees tell you not to do this. So if you can bend a knee at a time, do. If not, just let yourself come into center. And then when you're ready, this pose, you can have your knees bent equally in this pose and feel fine. Or you can have your legs straighter. Either one, whatever feels best for you. And you can keep your hands on blocks. If you feel like, oh, I just want to get out of my hands, you can stack your blocks up higher and put your forearms on blocks and have that length of your spine again, like we talked about in any forward bend. Or you can go ahead and fold over if your back allows you to. You can put your hands on the floor, walk them back towards between your feet, and let your head hang. So you really just be mindful of your own back. We're all different. See if you can bring your awareness now to really following your breath again. All the way in and all the way out. Letting the inhales and exhales even out a little bit if you can. One more nice full deep breath here. Take your time when you get ready to start to rise up. And this is one of those poses where, you know, if you get comfortable, you feel like you could stay there forever. But you might be a little bit dizzy when you're, you know, forward like that. So really be mindful. And it's not unusual to be a little bit dizzy after being forward that long. So take your time, move around. We're going to do the other side. So get yourself handy there with what you need so that when you step your left foot back, and you line your heels up, and you bend that front knee, it's easy to know how far you want your feet apart, right? You do not want that knee to creep out over your toes. And then just really feel good, solidly based between your feet there. Float your arms just a little tiny bit away again. Let the hands circle around, so now you're kind of waking up through your extremities there. And circle them the other way. Feel your feet in the floor while you do this. Think about your feet in the floor as you circle your hands around. And then go ahead and come back to long arms here as we float the arms up and out. Feel the feet still pressing away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer. And there you are in your hips, in your belly, your low back. Feel your feet in the floor and reach out through your fingertips. So feel your whole body in your warrior two here. Good. We're going to bring our left hand down to our left hip. We're going to straighten our right knee out and bring the right hand down for a triangle. So again, it's not about how low you go. You're keeping the length of the spine as you extend your torso out over that front leg. Your hand can be on whatever surface you want to use, your leg or chair or block. Roll the left shoulder up. If you like to add the left arm up, you can. And if your shoulder is like, yes, no, I'm not going up there with that arm, then just keep your hand down. Let yourself find what you can. Thighs engaging up towards the hips a little bit. So you're really feeling your legs and you're feeling your hips and you're feeling that length of the spine. We're going to bend the right knee. We're going to come on back into warrior two, pressing the feet gently away from each other, lining that knee up over the center of your foot. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. Again, if you need those blocks, you can grab them and have them forward there. Let yourself come on down. And once you get your hands to a surface you like, go ahead and let yourself lengthen out your spine. So whether your hands are on blocks or the floor, find a nice flat back. Knees can be bent or straight. Good. Really lengthen out. Good. And then from here, walk a little bit over to the right. Don't go towards your foot, though. Kind of stay in front of your foot. So whether you're up on blocks or your hands are on the floor, be out in front of your foot as you walk over. Good. And then walk back through center and go to the other side. And again, trying to keep even through your legs, right? So if your knees are both bent, let them be equally bent. If they're both straight, let them both stay straight. Good, and then come on back into center again. And now let both your knees bend and bring your elbows above your knees if you can, so that you're propping yourself up kind of, right? Got your elbows there, you're lengthened out through your spine. And one more breath here in this squat. And then we'll go ahead and release. Again, hands down, or if you want, again, you can stack your blocks up, put your forearms on blocks if you don't want your hands to be down. If you do like your hands to the floor, you can walk back towards between your feet. Some of you might even want to hold like your ankles, the front of your ankles. You can kind of, if you have your holding on to your ankles, you can prop your forearms kind of into your shins. And you actually can keep your spine lengthened that way, if that feels good. Or you can just fold and let your hands come more behind you or between your feet. And just be really mindful of your back. And let go through your neck, okay? So if you can keep from lifting the head up to find that kind of tension, but instead feel the weight of your head do. And then let the breath deepen if you can, as much as you can, as full and deep as you can let the breath speed, both your inhales and your exhales. So you feel the ribs expand when you inhale, and you feel them come back in when you exhale. Good. One more breath. And in order to rise up, you do what you need to do. If your feet need to move in closer or anything before you rise up, let yourself do that. And then take your time. Again, if you're dizzy, move around through your feet. You may want to pick your feet up and circle them a little bit, get into your ankles a little bit. And we are going to now bring either the seat of our chair to face us, or have your blocks to the highest height, all right? Because we're going to bring our hands down to either our blocks or the chair seat, and we're going to come into lunge, stepping our right foot back. So coming into just a normal lunge, so that you have your heel reaching directly behind your foot. You found your lunge here. We're going to add a twist. So we're going to bring our left hand up to our left hip, roll that shoulder up, hand down there on your sacrum and trying to stay fairly level. You can stay there with your hand down, or you can stretch your arm up if you feel really good in your shoulder to do that. And then we're going to bring our hand on back, all the way back down to lunge, okay? And we're going to come into pyramid from here. So we're down. We're going to just now lower that back heel into the floor, turned inward just a little bit, and our legs are straight. So both legs are straightening out now. Let yourself come up as high as you need to find a nice long back in your pyramid pose. So your back is flat. And you're attempting as much as possible to find that flatness in your back. So if you know that you tend to round up a little bit like this into the middle of the back or the upper back, then just make a real effort to drop your chest down a little bit and try to find more length. And then your legs are really working. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. If possible from here, bring your weight to your right hand and lift your left hand up to your left hip. That same twist we just did, we'll roll that shoulder up. Revolve triangle pose. It's a hard one. And it really gets into the outside of that left leg there. All the way down the outside of that leg, right? So be where you can. Let yourself feel that length out through the top of your head. Feel the feet in the floor. And then lower your hand on back down. Good. From there, bend the front knee, step forward with that right foot, and step back with your left foot to lunge. Regular lunge here at first. We're just going right to the other side. Hopefully this already brings a little relief from what we were just doing. And then take your time to add that twist. So you're in your lunge. Your right hand's going to come up to your hip, to your low back. You can roll that shoulder up. You can stay with your hand right there and be perfectly happy. You can stretch your arm up towards the ceiling if you want. So the hand just reaches up towards the sky if you want to. And then we'll bring the hand on back down. We're going to come back to lunge. And now we're going to come into that pyramid. So we're going to straighten that front leg out, lower the left heel to the floor. So that foot is turned out maybe 20 or 30 degrees, but you do want the heel on the ground. And now your thighs are lifting up towards your hips. You're trying to find a nice long back here. And your legs are working like crazy, actually. It's like you're creating space in your knees. You're lifting up with your thighs, and you see how that takes the pressure out of your knees. And you can add your right hand to your right hip and roll up a little bit with that shoulder if you can. And man, oh man, depending on how your legs feel today, you might really feel it. In your hamstrings, of course, but in the outside as well of that right leg. Beautiful. Good. One more breath here. And then let your hand come on back down. We're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath this. Let's separate our feet towards the outside edges of our mat, though, so that our feet are wider. And then just bring your elbows above your knees and support yourself there. Let yourself just take a couple of breaths. Your hips are shifting back. I know some of you might want to squat all the way down. So if you do, go ahead. So if you feel really good to turn your toes out a little bit and shift down with your hips, because a squat feels like a relief to you instead of too much in your knees and your hips and your back, just be mindful and don't do it if it's too much. Good. And then from here, we're going to slowly bring ourselves back up. Bring our feet back underneath us. Once we get up there, go ahead and come into your standing forward bend. And then we'll bend our knees and press into our feet and rise on up to standing. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And once your arms are overhead, clasp your hands. Turn your palms away from you. If you need to, bring your hands forward, do. If you can keep your hands directly overhead, do. Right? You don't want to hurt your shoulders. You want to feel your feet in the floor equally. And then bring your arms, I'm going to mirror you, over to the right a little bit. Let your arms come over to the right. Press up into the heel of your left hand a little bit. And then come on back into center and go the other way. So press up into the heel of that right hand a little bit. Good. And then come on back into center. Press up into the hands. And now if you want to look up a little bit, you can. That's up to you. Make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward. And then we're going to release our hands and slowly let them float down beside us again. Let the top of the head reach up towards the ceiling. And then just bend your elbows and bring your hands together and find your mountain pose. Just feeling equal between your feet, finding that alignment of the pelvis. Good. And then let your arms come on down, shake out a little bit. We're going to leave our mats where they are, but we are going to walk to a wall so that we can just put a hand on a wall somewhere. So there's plenty of room over here. Somebody can come over here if you want. Let yourself just find a spot. You don't need a mat under your feet. Yeah? And let's come into a little tree pose, standing on our left foot, bringing our right foot in, maybe below our knee, onto our calf here. Maybe you want to lift your foot up higher to the inside of your thigh. That's totally up to you. Let your hips feel okay. Keep your left hand on the wall for a second. And then bring your gaze to a spot. You know, when I first did yoga for a long, long time, I felt better to look down a little bit with my eyes, maybe like 6, 8 feet in front of me, down. I could focus better there to come into a balance, to bring my hands off the wall. But if you feel good to look forward, like you're looking out towards the horizon, or above maybe the head of the person in front of you, if that's distracting, you know. Try to see if you can bounce a little bit. You can keep your hand close to the wall and just play a little bit with letting go and putting it back, or you can bring your hands to your heart. Let it feel kind of good. release. Let that foot come on down. Now, turn to face the wall and see if you can put just your left hand on the wall and turn the fingertips to a little bit to the left, like you're turning your fingertips to the left. Your hand's turning sideways on the wall. And let your hand come a little higher than your shoulder. Okay, now be really mindful with this. We're pushing into the wall here, and we're going to start to turn our body away from the arm, right? This is a little bit different how we usually do this shoulder stretch. So start to just turn your feet away as much as you can. Your whole hips, everything turns away. Now your arm is straight. You want your arm straight. There you go. And you're turning yourself away from that hand. And it doesn't take long for you to go, oh my gosh. Yeah, okay, it's like into the shoulder, to the front of your chest. Don't push it. Let it feel where you can at least feel a little bit going on, not where you're going, oh my gosh, that hurts. And then come on back, turn to face the wall, and let's just do the other side. So your right hand goes up, left arm comes down, shake it out a little bit. Turn the hand so the fingertips face more to the right and the hand's a little higher than your shoulder. And then just start to press into the wall and turn away from it. So really push into the wall. You're pushing the wall away from you. You can keep turning if you want, if it feels good to almost turn towards the center of the room. I mean, it is intense, though. Be mindful, don't overdo. Opening up across your chest here, the right side of your chest, and of course, you'll feel this in your arm and your shoulder. Good. And then come on back to turn to the wall. Come on to your forearms on the wall. Clasp your hands and send your pinky out. Walk your feet back. And then just find a forearm plank, pressing into the wall here. Imagine you're hugging your elbows towards each other. And if anybody wants to inhale, rise their heels up when they inhale. And exhale, bring them back down towards the ground, you can. So you can inhale up and exhale down with your heels, keeping the belly engaged, pressing into your forearms too. Good. So one more breath here. And then walk back towards the wall. We're going to turn right shoulder to the wall so we can come to tree pose on that other side. So you're going to stand on your right foot. You're going to bring your left foot in. Now remember, you can keep your toes on the floor and put your heel on your inside of your ankle if you choose to, so that you have a little bit broader base of support. And that's fine to let your tree pose be there. You're still engaging upward here through the top of your head. You're feeling a lift in the front of your right hip. You can hold on to the wall or you can let go. Good. Find that focal point where you can really keep your focus. One more breath. And then let yourself release. Turn your back to the wall. Since we all have a wall here today, walk your feet out. Maybe where your heels are, 6 to 12 inches away from the wall. And bend your knees a little bit. So you're kind of sitting like you're in a chair right now, a very high chair. You can feel your quads. Just enjoy that for a second. Let your shoulders be back into the wall. And now we're going to see about sending the back of the head into the wall and letting our hips come off the wall. Now, I'm keeping my chin parallel to the floor. I'm hoping my shoulders come off the wall too. And then I'm going to try to straighten my legs out, keeping my hips forward, right? It's a back bend. If it's too much, don't do it. Come back down, sit back into your chair. Don't worry about it. You can try it with your heels closer to the wall, right? If you want a little bit more, you can try it. Come back and try walking farther from the wall. And then doing that same thing, letting yourself come forward with your hips. And your head is supported on the wall. And you're letting your arms just hang. It's a pretty safe back bend, but it actually feels really good across the chest. Yeah. Nice. And now shift your hips on back towards the wall. And let yourself line your feet up so that if you can come forward, you can either put your hands right there to support yourself or maybe elbows above your knees. So if it feels good to put your elbows above your knees, do. If not, stay up higher if you need to. Good. Now some of you, and staying here is good. If you like to straighten your legs a bit and fold forward like you're coming into a standing forward bend, but with your hips onto the wall, right? You couldn't do this if you're standing in open space, obviously, because your hips are way behind your heels. But some people that feels really good. To me, it feels good, but some people it's not good at all. So just be mindful and keep your support if you need with your elbows above your knees. One more breath. Good. And now we're going to be really careful as we slowly rise up. Take your time. Use your hands to help you come back into the wall. Find that little bit of a chair again where your knees are bent and you're supported by the wall. And float your arms out. Turn your palms forward and press the backs of your hands into the wall a little bit. Good. And then we're going to release and walk our feet on back up. Good. And we're going to come back onto our mats on the floor. And we are going to sit. So let yourself, if you know you need a blanket to sit on, get a blanket. Get your blocks handy in case you want them. And let yourself just bring your legs on out in front of you at first. Yeah. Shake your legs out a little bit. You can even kind of massage a little bit if you want to massage your legs and kind of go down the outside of your legs with your heels of your hands and press, because we just, those pyramids, we just got into the outside of our legs really good, your IT bands there. And then shake out. We'll do just a classic seated forward bend, which is, for some of us, like not fun at all. So you're more than welcome to put support, like if you're up on a blanket, so if you don't have a blanket for your knees, you can always put blocks behind your knees or a blanket rolled up behind your knees. So that if you're tight in your back, in your low back, and you're tight in the backs of your legs, coming forward when you have your hips higher and your knees a little bit bent feels better, right? Than coming forward like this. Because, if you're tight, that gives you a little bit of release there, a little bit more ability to come forward. So you're trying to keep your back long. You can let your head hang. I know some of you are like, oh, it just feels good to touch my toes, because it just feels good, because that's where your body, you're built as such that it's much easier for you to come forward. So that's fine. You don't need to get your toes, but you can. You can put your hands on your legs or on the floor. Let yourself release into the head hanging if possible. Just as long as you're not lifting your chin up like this and trying to come forward like that with the neck all tense. Just let yourself breathe here. Good. One more breath. And then we'll come on back up. And from here, bring your hands behind you. Well, kind of to the side of you, because all we're going to do is just roll to one side like this with our knees bent, and then roll to the other. And really let your knees bend, right? So you come into really massaging through your glutes a little bit, right? And through the sides of your hips here, yeah? And it should feel really good. You don't want to do it if it doesn't feel good. Good. And then finish off. Come on back into center. Let your knees bend. And we're going to come into a little boat pose here. So you may want to be careful if you're up on a blanket. This is, be really mindful. Let yourself walk your feet back a little bit. Lean back so that you have a nice long back. So instead of collapsing here in your chest, it's like there's a string pulling your chest towards where the wall meets the ceiling over there. And then you can float your feet on up off the floor, flexing through the feet. If this doesn't feel good, put your feet back down. You can still be in boat pose just like this, right? Really using the core of the body. Some of you may decide, well, I want to hold on and try to get my legs longer. So if you want to try to get your legs longer, do. Or you may go, yeah, no, I'm perfectly happy right here. Or even trying to let go of your legs too. Or deciding that that's not a good idea either, right? So just kind of play a little bit. Yeah, if you're cramping, be mindful because it's not fun to cramp in this pose. But you're thinking of using your belly, your low back, and trying, if it hurts your back, really, I'm serious, put your feet down, don't do it. So play a little bit longer if you can. Really feel that chest rising forward. And then we're going to bring our feet down and bring ourselves into Baddha Konasana, which will feel like a huge relief. And you're more than welcome to put blocks underneath your knees if that feels better. If coming forward a little bit feels like even more of a relief, think of coming forward from your low back. And then once you get forward some from your low back, you can let your head hang if you want, right? You can let yourself release as far forward as feels good. And sometimes just giving yourself a little bit of time will allow the hips and the back to release a little bit more. So see if you can just stay and be with your breath. Remember, you're not trying to force your knees down towards the ground. You're just allowing the inner thighs to lengthen, allowing the hips to release, and your low back too. And if it doesn't feel quite right, changing how far away from you your feet are can really make a difference too. You don't have to pull your heels way in towards you. You can have your feet out farther. Especially if you're like, oh, that allows me to come farther forward. If you want to experiment a little bit with where your feet are, do. Good. And one more breath. Take your time. When you start to rise up, you can use your hands to help you bring your knees up again if you want. And then let your legs come long again. Shake them out. And we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor from here. So coming on down onto your back and letting yourself bring your knees in towards your chest. See if you can, just for a couple of breaths, let your hands be on your knees. So your right hand's on your right knee, your left hand's on your left knee. And when you exhale, pull the knees in towards you and you'll feel how your low back collapses to the ground. When you inhale, let the knees come away and let your arms go straight so you feel that natural curve come back into your back. So when you exhale, you draw the knees in, the low back comes down. You inhale, the knees come away, the arms go straight, and you feel how your pelvis changes. And you feel how that natural curve comes back into your low back. So just do a couple more of those with your own breath, letting yourself just enjoy finding that different alignment with your pelvis. And finding that natural curve in the low back is pretty important stuff. And then come on back. Now to let arms being long so that you can then just put your feet down to the floor and bring your feet in like you would for bridge pose. So how far apart, you know that, you're getting your feet parallel. Bring your arms on down. And now we're just going to move a little bit with our breath. Go ahead and bend your elbows. Do your robot arms where your palms face each other. Your elbows are bent to 90 degrees. And you're going to press into the backs of the arms, and when you inhale, you're going to lift your hips up a little bit, press into your feet, feel your thighs. And when you exhale, let your hips come back down to the floor. So again, pressing into the arms. Inhale, rising the hips up. Feel your thighs. Really focus on your quads. And then when you exhale, come back down. Let's do it one more time. Pressing into the backs of the arms, inhaling. Really press into your feet. Now see if you can lift your heels up, which lifts your hips a little higher. See if you can keep your hips where they are. Put your heels back down. Feel your quads again. And then release and come back down to the floor. And now release your arms long. Let the knees come just a little bit side to side. And we're going to come into bridge pose again, but this time you get to pick how you want to do it. Yeah? Do you want to do a supported bridge? Do you want to come back to the arms bent? Would you rather lengthen your arms long? Do you want to press up, grab a block, and get supported underneath your sacrum? Or do you want to come on up into bridge and stay for a few breaths, then come back down when you're ready? So just be mindful. If you're on the block and you choose to stay, go right ahead and stay on that block. Any height you want to be. You've got the 3 heights of the blocks. You can stay low, you can go middle, you can go higher. And of course you can move up and down in bridge like we were doing. You know that. If you're on the block, you can also lift legs up if you like. If you like that, bringing your legs up in the air when you're supported on the block, feel free to do that. Good. So when you get ready to come down from bridge, be really mindful. If you're up on the block, be really careful when you do come down too. Let yourself release down, hips to the floor, and bring your right knee in towards your chest. And see if you can extend your left leg down long on the floor. Flex through both your feet. Let your left hand come over to hold your right knee and bring your right arm out beside you on the floor. And see if you can just draw the knee to the left, maybe just a little bit. You may even want to keep your hip really close, right hip close to the floor, or you may want to go farther over into a twist with that leg over to the left. Totally up to you. You know that. You can come just a little bit. You can release farther over. Bring the right shoulder to release to the ground though. If you go really far over with the leg, try to keep your shoulder released to the floor. That opposite shoulder. And then we're going to come on back into center with the knee. And we're going to bring the left knee in and extend the right leg down long on the floor. So flex through both your feet. Now you've got that natural curve back into your low back. If you press that left leg into your hands a little bit, you're not collapsed into your back. Right hand is going to come to that left knee. Left arm is going to stretch out beside you, out from your shoulder on the floor. And you're going to bring the leg over across to the right. And again, you may not want to go far. You may want to just let the leg come a little bit over and keep the left hip down low. Or you may want to continue over farther with that leg, letting yourself come more into a twist. One more breath. And then let yourself come on back into center, and let's bring both knees on in and send your feet on up to a little happy baby. Now whether you just let yourself bring your hands around the outside of your legs to rest on the back of your thighs, or maybe you want to reach up and hold your ankles or your feet, right? Just easily release your back and your hips. If shifting side to side feels good, go for it. If you're like, no, I just don't want to be doing that, don't, right? Start to listen to your body. You may feel like you want to stretch everything long. You may decide you need another kind of pose. If you want to come into a nice wide angle here on your back, or you want to just lift your legs up in the air, you can do a bicycle if you want up there, or you may decide that there's something else that feels good. You may even decide that another bridge pose sounds like a good idea, right? So be mindful and just listen to what your body wants you to do. And, it's fine if that is getting ready for Shavasana right this minute. It's fine if you need to do 2 or 3 more poses, right? So I'll kind of start to get lights out in here. And then I'll be walking around to bring things for those of us here who need support. So if somebody decides they would like a blanket or a bolster. And remember, if you lie out, and you usually are, pretty fine when you're in Shavasana, and you don't feel any discomfort, then go right ahead and stay that way if it's comfortable, but don't if it's not. Let me know. And I can bring a bolster. And if it's not comfortable, sometimes if I bring you something and you turn out to go, well, this doesn't help me, it's worse, you don't have to keep it there. You can always take it out. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes and yes. So, just don't give up on me. You're still waiting for me for a bolster.
That's a good sign.
Yes, you have two. If you need a blanket. A blanket? Cover? Still up and about. Wave at me if something sounds good. Just let yourself enjoy the support of the ground as you accept your breaths in and out. Nothing you need to do in order to breathe, because the breath will just keep coming in and out, even when your mind wanders off. You know that. You come back. You start watching the breath again, and then your mind will probably wander off again. That's what our brains do, so that's fine. But you will, when you start realizing what focusing on the breath does. It quiets the body. Your body really responds to that. And your brain does too, because you find these little quiet spaces. So just give yourself these few minutes, letting yourself get what you need. All you're doing is kind of getting out of your body's way, because it knows what to do. Give yourself these few minutes to allow that to happen, and just let yourself completely and fully relax. ground underneath you. And breath will want to start to come in and go out more fully and deeply again. And your fingers and your toes might feel like wiggling around a little bit when you start to come back into wanting to physically move. And your hands, your feet, your arms, your legs, when you're ready to move, let them move the way you need. Let it feel really easy to come back into physically moving again. You know, you can roll to either your right or your left side if you're comfortable to do that. You can come onto your side and maybe even use your arm as a pillow if you don't have a blanket there so you can be comfortable. Now just be easy. When you feel like you're ready to rise up to sitting, just let yourself come up to sit however is comfortable, so that if you need to stretch your legs out, do that. If you need to grab a blanket to sit on, if you want to cross your legs, do. You can let your eyes close and keep your focus internal a little bit longer when you come up to sitting. Just enjoy finding that sense of your spine really supporting you. As you lengthen up through the top of your head a little bit, you have all that space. You can bring your awareness back to your breath and enjoy just having your head up there again on top. And on your next exhale, letting your hands come to meet in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Wednesday. Middle of the week.